It was a test, but nobody told you when it would begin. When the challenges came, there was no ceremony, no applause, just you and an invisible audience watching you. There was a call echoing in the depths of your soul. Don't give up. And you, in spite of every doubt, every betrayal, every delay, did not deviate from your path. Chosen one, you passed the divine test, and with honor. This test was not measured by money, status, environment. It was measured by loyalty, patience, and the fiery purification of your soul. When everyone thought you had stumbled, you were acquitted in an inner court. When everyone forgot you, the heavens recorded your name. Now the divine seal is being set, approved, ready to be elevated. Your determination has echoed on an unseen throne. There is no turning back now. 555 in the comments now. Because those who pass the test no longer just walk, they pave the way. You have always known that time has a way of exposing hidden truths, but now the moment has arrived when what was buried is being resurrected. The injustices done against you, long dismissed and forgotten by others, are now being uncovered by forces far beyond the scope of the human mind. Years may have passed, but truth does not rest, and it has tirelessly chased down every hidden wrong to bring it into the open. The time has come for you to step out of the shadows of injustice and into the light of triumph. What was once a burden hanging over you like a dark cloud is now being swept away, erased by the undeniable force of cosmic order. This is the final chapter in the story of your suffering, and it is now being written with the ink of vindication. Every tear that went unnoticed, every slight that seemed small at the time, is now being righted in a way that only the universe could orchestrate. If you feel the abundance of divine love in your heart, now is the time to share it. You can help spread God's blessings by clicking the Super Thank You button on YouTube and contributing $20 or more. This divine gift will touch not only your life, but the souls of many through this platform. Each of you has a sacred place in God's grand design, and your generosity will be the fruit of our prayers. Act now. Share your blessings to glorify His kingdom. For you were created to do even greater things in God's loving hands. May God bless you. Justice does not wait forever. Though it may seem delayed, it was only gathering strength for this moment. Now it strikes with the power and speed of a storm, breaking the silence, rushing toward you like an unstoppable tide. What was once unjustly diverted will now flow back into your hands, exactly where it was always meant to be. What was stolen is now on its way back to its rightful owner, directed by a force far greater than you could ever have imagined. The universe doesn't tolerate imbalances, and it is now correcting what was wrongfully redirected. The forces of nature are aligning to bring you what was once taken: prosperity, peace, and power that belong to you. The vacuum created by the theft is already being filled, not just to balance the scales, but to overflow with blessings that have been compounded by divine geometry. Someone of great influence, someone pivotal to your journey, has crossed your path, bringing with them the power to make what has been hidden now impossible to ignore. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. This individual, though they may not yet understand their role, has been placed in your path by the cosmos to serve as a vessel of your restoration. Their presence and their power will be the conduit through which your rightful place in the world will be affirmed, not just as a whisper, but as a resounding declaration that cannot be ignored or hidden away. The truth that was buried beneath layers of secrecy is preparing to break free, like the earth shattering from the weight of a long-held secret. No obstacle will stop it. No cover-up will silence it. No tactic will divert its path. The coming revelation will be so powerful that even those who have been steadfast in their denial will have no choice but to face the undeniable truth. What has been whispered in the dark corners of hidden rooms will soon echo across the world, proclaimed for all to hear. What was secret and encrypted will be exposed for all to see. The architects of your pain now find themselves trapped, unable to escape the inevitable reckoning that is drawing near. They may feel something shifting, but they cannot pinpoint where the tremors of justice are coming from. The ground beneath them is already giving way. The fragile illusion of safety they've built for themselves is crumbling, no matter how hard they try to mend the cracks. The webs of deception they've woven are more intricate than you can even comprehend, with many threads pulled tight from different directions. Some acted out of envy, others out of fear, while a few were driven by blind allegiance to forces far darker than they understood. Together, they formed a temporary alliance, but like all unions forged in shadow, it is beginning to disintegrate. Paranoia now spreads through their ranks like wildfire, and trust is swiftly eroding. As the cracks widen, one among them is awakening to the weight of their actions. They can no longer bear the guilt that they've carried in silence. The truth that was never meant to be revealed is now making its way into the open. As this individual prepares to break away from the others and speak what they have kept hidden for so long, unexpected sources are providing the evidence that will bring their actions to light. The traces they thought were erased, digital footprints, witnesses they silenced, and destroyed documents are now resurfacing, as if drawn out by an invisible hand. The truth is, like the stars in the sky, inevitable, immutable, and undeniable. Each piece of evidence connects, lights up the path, and exposes all involved. The revelation of these truths is coming at a speed that cannot be stopped. Like an avalanche tumbling down a mountainside, the force of information will sweep away any attempt at controlling or altering the narrative. The stories they've built around their public personas will shatter against the rock-solid facts of their deception. The masks they've worn to hide their true selves will fall, and they will stand before the world, stripped of any pretense. In the face of overwhelming truth, their carefully cultivated image will dissolve. They may try to salvage their reputation, using threats and manipulations to force silence, but it will be futile. The truth, armed with undeniable proof, is too powerful for them to contain or control. Understand this fundamental truth. You are still standing because you were meant to stand. What could have broken a lesser person, what was meant to tear you down, has instead only refined you. The attacks, coordinated, relentless, and malicious, were designed to destroy your spirit, but they underestimated the strength that lies within you. They never knew who they were really up against. Dear brothers and sisters, may God's peace be upon you today. I am here to remind you of a profound truth. Our existence is grounded in God's divine plan, unshaken by the temporal concerns of the world. As the Bible says, whatever is done in faith will return to God in abundant blessing. Luke 6:38. Like that great oak tree, our roots are deeply rooted in God's universal truth. Every step we take, every stand we take, is secured by His strength. And now, you are being offered the opportunity to be part of that blessing. When you use the Super Thank You button and donate $100, this movement will return to you 100-fold in abundance. They only saw the surface, the outward appearance, the circumstances, but they failed to recognize the spiritual power you embody. They overlooked the ancestral energy that flows through your veins, the divine mission that was set before you long before you were born. Their sight was limited to the material realm, but your essence stretches far beyond that, reaching into the unseen. Throughout this battle, when the odds seemed stacked against you, when allies disappeared and the world turned cold, there was a silent, invisible force protecting you. You were never truly alone. Spiritual guardians watched over you, stepping in whenever the attacks grew too fierce. The doors that were closed in your face were replaced with openings from the cosmos, ensuring you would never be left defenseless. The attacks on your spirit were designed to derail you, but they failed miserably. Each attempt to break you only strengthened your defenses. The dark energy directed at your soul was met with an unseen shield, one you didn't even realize was there, protecting your consciousness from manipulation. Even curses sent to disrupt your path simply bounce back with greater force, returning to those who intended harm. Like an acorn pressed into the dark earth and forgotten all winter, you were buried in seasons of hardship. Yet every cold night, every fierce storm, every hungry root only nudged you closer to the moment you would split open and rise into a mighty oak. Those bitter trials weren't tombstones marking your end. They were planting grounds, preparing your beginning. Yes, the betrayals stung like frost on tender shoots. The whispered slanders chilled your bones. Sleepless midnights stretched out like empty fields, so long, so lonely, that you wondered whether dawn would ever unfold across your sky again. But even in that heavy silence, heaven's hands were holding you, turning the soil of your soul, making room for deeper roots. Friend, understand this with every fiber of faith you've got. Nothing came against you that God didn't already weave into your victory story. When lies tried to snuff out your name, the Almighty used them as fertilizer for your influence. When relationships shattered like glass on concrete, the shards reflected hidden angles of your own strength. The pain you felt wasn't wasted, it was welded into purpose. Each fiery dart the enemy threw only forged a thicker shield around your heart. You walked through valleys that looked impossible, but those valleys trained your eyes to spot living water where others see only dust. You walked on, sometimes crawling, sometimes carried by prayers you could barely whisper, but you kept moving. That forward faith, even when you felt weakest, was heaven's trumpet proclaiming, "This one is unstoppable." If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. You stood in boardrooms where your ideas were stolen and repackaged, yet you blessed the very hands that tried to rob you, because grace inside you was louder than greed around you. You gave when you had next to nothing, sowing kindness like seed in rocky ground, and the harvest is already breaking through the surface in places you can't yet see. Look back for a moment. Remember when fear told you that last heartbreak would finish you off. Remember when every phone call felt like bad news. You're still breathing. You're still giving. You're still dreaming. The scoreboard of heaven shows you miles ahead, not because you sprinted without stumbling, but because the Spirit lifted you every single time you fell. Hear me, those psychic attacks, those sudden spells of anxiety that felt like arrows in the night, those waves of exhaustion that ambushed you after a single ugly text, none of them slipped past God's notice. While darkness tried to cloud your vision, divine light slipped new lenses over your eyes. You learned to read motives, to hear subtext, to see danger coming before it crossed your doorstep. That's not paranoia, that's holy perception. You are stronger in discernment now because you know how disguised the wolves can be. You carry a shepherd's staff made of wisdom, and no snare will tangle you like it once did. And oh, the patience you've grown. Waiting rooms became classrooms where you mastered the quiet dance of expectancy. While others lobbied for shortcuts, you learned to trust process. You learned that baking blessings take time. Now your spirit rises like warm bread, feeding hungry hearts that have no one else to lean on. That gentle strength, that calm steadiness, is the fragrance of your endurance. It calls weary wanderers to your table, and they leave tasting hope again. Let's talk about the nights. Those vast, starless stretches when prayers felt like pebbles tossed into a canyon. You know the ones. Yet even then, a subtle pulse kept beating inside you, a faint but fearless rhythm saying, "Hold on. Morning is already written." That was the whisper of divine guidance, the quiet compass of the spirit. It steered you past pitfalls you never saw, warmed you by fires you didn't light, and kept your mind from crashing when logic said it should. You walked through what should have been mental ruin, and you came out carrying new corridors of peace. That's not ordinary. That's God doing what only God can do. Now step back and see the masterpiece that your trials painted. Resilience deeper than drought, courage louder than critics, compassion that bleeds gold into every conversation. You carry a glow folks can't define. They'll ask, what changed? They'll wonder how you still smile after storms that would cave in anyone else's roof. Tell them this: grace is stronger than grief, purpose outruns pain, and my God wastes nothing. Even the betrayals became tutors. They showed you where not to invest your pearls and how to guard your heart without aborting your kindness. You no longer beg for seats at tables where love is on short supply. You build new tables, set wider plates, and invite those who know the taste of rejection to feast on acceptance. That is kingdom living, expanding joy so others find room to heal. See, it wasn't in comfort that your anointing grew sharp. It was under pressure. A dull knife gets honed on a whetstone, and a dull destiny gets honed on adversity. The same tears that blurred your vision also washed your spiritual lenses crystal clear. When doors slammed, you praised in hallways. When funds dried up, you seeded generosity in faith. Those actions wrote permission slips for miracles to locate you. Don't be surprised when checks you didn't expect arrive, when opportunities you never applied for knock twice, when medical reports flip from grim to good in an afternoon. You sowed obedience in drought. Harvest has to obey spiritual law. Younger fighters swing on emotion, but seasoned warriors swing on strategy. That's you now. Calm, calculating, carried by conviction. You don't chase storms to prove your power. You carry stillness that makes storms lose theirs. You hold spiritual authority like a seasoned captain steering through fog. Steady hand, fixed gaze, unwavering trust that the lighthouse is there even when the beam hasn't broken the mist yet. And about those voices that spoke curses over your path. Business partners, relatives, jealous souls who couldn't stand your light. They will soon witness how heaven turns curses into crowns. God doesn't erase your scars. He weaves them into bright ribbons of testimony. One day soon, people will read the chapters of your survival and gain courage for their own. That's why the battle had to be public enough for others to notice, yet private enough that only you and God know the depth of the cost. He's writing a bestseller through your persistence, and every page drips with proof that divine favor never fails. Let this settle deep. You're not just bouncing back, You're bouncing forward. Recovery is nice, but restoration is richer. Recovery gives back what was lost. Restoration multiplies it. Expect double joy for every tear, double wisdom for every confusion, double influence for every isolation. Heaven's math is never subtraction. It's compound interest on faithfulness. So hold your head high. Wear your story like armor. Remember that no season of suffering can cancel your calling. Destiny doesn't run on mankind's calendar. It runs on eternity's agenda. And according to that agenda, you are right on time. Gates are swinging open. Relationships of integrity are gathering. Resources you need are locating you like magnets find north. You have become the oak tree the acorn never dreamed it could be. But God always knew. Take a deep breath right now and feel the strength that hardship built in your core. Take another and sense how keen your ears have become to God's whispers. You're equipped, you're steady, you're stepping into a zone where favor flows like rivers after the thaw. This is your breakout moment, not because someone finally decided to applaud you, but because heaven long ago appointed it. And now, standing in the aftermath of those trials, you are ready for what comes next. You've walked through fire and come out purified, like gold refined by flame. You have been forged by hardship, and now you are ready to fulfill your higher purpose. The world has been preparing you for this moment, and the time has come for you to step into your role as a divine instrument of change. In this moment, you can feel it, the shift, the change, the realization that you are not just meant for survival, but for greatness. This is your moment, and as the energy of divine restoration begins to pour into your life, you are ready to harness it. You will rise, not just to reclaim what was taken from you, but to step into a role far greater than you could have imagined. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. Picture a single blade of grass pushing through a slab of concrete. No fancy soil, no gentle rain, just raw determination refusing to be denied its dawn. That tender green spear could have surrendered to the stone, but it rose anyway, splitting the pavement in slow, holy insistence until the whole sidewalk had to acknowledge its strength. That's you. You were never supposed to bloom in the eyes of those who plotted your downfall, but you did more than bloom. You cracked the very ground they tried to bury you under, and now the tremors are taking their own foundations apart. Your critics were certain you'd collapse the first time storms rolled in. They counted on the thunder of gossip, the lightning of betrayal, and the hail of hardship to batter you into silence. They circled your progress, the way vultures circle the wilderness, watching for any sign of surrender. Yet every hard season only deepened your roots. Every rumor only watered your resolve. While they whispered about your weakness, heaven was scaffolding new levels of strength inside you. While they painted pictures of your failure, the master artist was layering brushstrokes of fresh purpose upon your canvas. You didn't just survive, you took the very mud they hurled and used it as clay to mold a testimony beyond their imagination. Understand this. People can scheme, but they can't overrule divine design. They may have conspired in secret back rooms, scribbling strategies to trip you up, but your destiny was drafted in courts higher than theirs, etched in grace, sealed in blood, guarded by angels on 24-hour watch. They crafted stumbling stones, yet God rearranged the path so those stones became stepping stones. What was sent to stop you turned around to strengthen you. What was meant to embarrass you ended up expanding you. It's the spiritual law of reversal. The darker the opposition, the brighter the breakthrough. Your persistence outlasted their plots. Night after night you prayed when panic pounded the door. Morning after morning you chose hope when headlines screamed despair. Others wrote you off as finished, but every time they struck the closing chord, you reached for a higher note. You learned to lean on a promise bigger than popular opinion. You learned to breathe in faith when fear tried to suffocate your dreams. And now, that faith is cashing in. The check of vindication has cleared the bank of heaven, and payment is arriving in full. Justice is not a mythic ideal floating somewhere beyond the clouds. It is a living river that may wind slow, but it never forgets its route. That river is cresting your banks right now, fresh, clean, unstoppable. Those who tried to dam its flow are about to witness a flood of favor they can't contain. You have stepped into a legal shift in the court of divine order, and the verdict reads, cleared, compensated, commissioned. Cleared of false labels, compensated for stolen time, commissioned to shine brighter than ever, because nothing draws souls to the light like a life that refused to dim under pressure. And friend, your spiritual protection is thicker than steel and softer than mercy, wrapping your steps like a shepherd's arm guides a lamb. You once felt exposed, walking through deserts of uncertainty, but behind the scenes, battalions of angels were making the very sand beneath your feet bloom into oases of unexpected support. What you thought was abandonment was really alignment. God removed people who couldn't carry the weight of your future. He closed rooms that lacked the ventilation for your dream to breathe. Now the doors opening before you swing wide on hinges of purpose, not pity. You will not need to knock twice. Favor has already announced your arrival. Your path gleams clearer than morning sun on calm water. Where confusion once fogged the horizon, clarity now stretches like a well-lit highway. Discernment that once came in whispers now rings like church bells in the quiet of your spirit. Decisions you used to agonize over are showing up with neon confirmation. Go here, wait there, speak now, stay silent. That's not coincidence. That's the maturity you grew in the hard places. You've learned to recognize the shepherd's voice, and because you're tuned to him, deception can't sneak through static like it once did. Now is the time to share God's blessings by clicking the super thank you button on YouTube. You can contribute to his plan and be a part of this divine mission with a donation of $100 or more. Every gift reflects God's generosity, and I believe it will return to you exponentially far beyond your expectations. Remember, his protection and blessing is on your every step and every donation. You become part of his divine plan. You are a strong, radiant being, unshakable as his mighty rock. Witness God's miracles, feel the fruits of your generosity in your soul, and illuminate the world with confidence and courage. Be blessed, and let the light of the Lord guide your path. Meanwhile, those who wished you harm are grappling with consequences they never calculated. They engineered collapses only to watch their own scaffolding buckle. They pronounced your defeat only to echo it back onto themselves. While they rehearsed your eulogy, God drafted your elevation speech. They are discovering that the pits we dig for others often become the graves of our own peace. But remember, triumph isn't about gloating. Grace isn't a trophy to taunt the defeated, it's a light to guide the lost. So when their walls cave in, let compassion join firmness. Offer forgiveness, not to minimize the hurt, but to maximize your own freedom. As the divine forces move into position, bringing clarity and insight to your journey, there will be no mistaking that your time has come. This is not just about surviving the past. It's about stepping into the fullness of your power and purpose. You were made for this moment, and the universe is aligning everything for you to rise with unstoppable force. If you feel God's presence, you can tap the join button below to become part of the first chosen ones and receive the most important revelations early. Your journey has been one of deep transformation, and now the time for action is upon you. The truth has emerged, and the world will soon know the magnitude of your strength. This is not just about personal victory. It's about the collective healing that will follow as you take your place as a leader, a healer, and a beacon of light for all to follow. The restoration has begun, and with it, your mission takes flight.